financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is, am I obligated to pay my spouse's debt, my parents' debt, or my business's debts? Dun 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 dun. Brian Small, good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
Jeffrey Linden, good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
Kelsey Simasco, good morning.
Good morning. Ken Gross. Good morning.
Thank you. All right, so let's get into it. We'll intro, but I don't want to spend all day on it because a recent show we did. Remember the 3-point retirement plan, because that is the underlying overriding goal. You want to get to a point in your life where you are ready to retire, you own your home free and clear, zero debt, cash in the bank. If you can get to that point, you'll have a comfortable retirement. You don't need $20 million in the bank account. That would be great. If you do it, then you can have a mortgage, you can have a car payment, you can have whatever you want, as long as it's not $20 million worth of debt. But if you're a normal Joe...
19.99 works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're a normal Joe, the 3-point retirement plan is a safety valve, but it's a goal and you have to work towards it, but it's an attainable goal. Okay, now, spouse's debts. Are you obligated to pay your spouse's debts?
Well, there's a theory out there. Many people believe that if you're married and one spouse incurs debt, you're responsible to pay it if you're married.
Wait, I know, because I went to 3 years of law school and they taught me this. It depends.
It depends. Okay,
Good
so
answer.
it does depend. And here's the answer. Here's the underlying issue. Did you sign the note? Did you sign the credit card application as a co-applicant? Did you agree to pay the debt of your spouse in a promise to pay?
I kind of went to, I'm kind of like the old school of law review, of law school. And we used to, when I went to law school, we learned the law this way. General rule, exceptions to the rule. So let's start with the general rule. The general rule is
No.
you
The
are
answer
not
is no.
liable for your spouse's debts.
The answer is no.
There are exceptions. You're citing exceptions. If you've obligated yourself to the debt by signing the application, by signing a guarantee, by signing the note, you're not obligated on your spouse's debt. You're obligated on your own debt because you just signed up for it.
But
if you sign a guarantee for your spouse, then yes, you're obligated for your spouse's debt.
I'm gonna
but the
show you-
guarantee is also your debt.
I'm going to show you one, though, that happens a ton. So, husband and wife have credit cards. Husband has his credit cards. Wife has a credit card. And husband puts the wife on the credit card as an authorized user, right? Authorized user is not responsible for the underlying debt.
Well, but that goes to what Ken's saying. That's the husband's debt.
Husband dies. Wife continues to use the credit card.
Then she is obligated.
Then she becomes obligated. We see that a lot.
She's not obligated on the old debt. She's
Right.
obligated
On
on
her
the debt on the
usage.
Right.
charge.
Anything that she's used after he passed away.
Right.
There is one, I haven't checked it in a number of years, but there used to be a Michigan case, an old case, that obligated the spouse for the other spouse's medical bills. I researched it. This was back in the financial crisis, and I actually had a case where client was being sued on a medical bill for the spouse. And there was like a 1919 case, but I didn't have a chance to double check to see if it's good, still good law. It was a necessities thing. Now, let me switch gears. Are you obligated for your children's debts?
Well, wait, what was the answer?
back then on the medical bill, you were obligated. I'm not sure if that law is still good law or not.
Okay.
It depends. Currently, when you're billing for debts, there's usually a guarantor who's got the insurance. That's who they will bill, regardless of.
Now, this is completely separate from that. This is a case of, you know, like in the early 1919s, because you have it's you know your copay. Let's say you had no insurance. You had no insurance. Your wife incurred bills. She was a homemaker, and you never signed up for anything, and she's declared bankruptcy. Can they sue you on the debt?
Right.
That's the issue. Don't know. I'll check that case and report back on a later show. Here's the common one that we always have before we get rid of spouses. You just mentioned it. Spouse dies.
Right.
Husband dies. He's got 5 cards with $10,000 balances. The cards are only in his name. Husband had $1 million of life insurance. Wife is the beneficiary. Wife gets $1 million. Wife, in that circumstance, when she comes into our office and we're handling her estate, always has the 5 bills from the husband's credit cards on the top of the piles. And that's the most important thing that she wants to do, is pay those cards off right away, because she's just gotten the insurance.
And she never, ever, ever should pay them.
Right.
What happens in
Never.
that scenario?
Well, she shouldn't pay them because she doesn't have to. But in my experience, they've already paid them because of that emotional sentiment.
If they've already paid them, then it's too late. You're not going to get the
Right.
money back. If they haven't paid them, usually in my office it's a 20-minute fight.
Right.
You're not paying them. They're not your obligation.
It's not your obligation. It's not going to impact your credit.
It's my moral obligation.
Right.
But you know
Bernie charged those things. We always paid our bills.
To those people, I always say, you know, look at what kind of charge it is, right? If you owe a $5,000 bill to American Express, don't pay American Express, right? American Express has gotten enough of your money over the years, you're fine. But if it's the dentist down the street and he owes them
Different
the
story.
$50 copay, that's a
Right.
guy in your community. Help the people in your community. American Express is fine.
On that note, we'll take a break as American Express takes away Kelsey's credit card.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
If your loved one is struggling with age-related issues, let our family help your family. Call Samasco Law now. We're family-owned and growing. Meet Joe Frizard and Kelsey Samasco, our newest superstars. We'll handle your issues with care, compassion, and dedication. At Samasco Law, we'll leave no stone unturned until your family is protected for the long term. We'll walk together. That's what families do. Samasco Law. Protect what matters.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
Yep.
All right, we're back. So we talked about spouses' debts. What about your children's debt? Are you obligated for your children's debts?
Are they minors or are they adults?
Let's do one versus the next. If they're a minor.
If they're a minor, it depends. What type of obligation is it?
Well, let me ask you a question.
It would be yes if it's a medical bill.
Well, hold on a second. If it's a minor, the minor doesn't have the legal capacity to be obligated at all. So
That's-
the minor can't have a debt.
Right. But as a
So-
parent, you're going to be the guarantor for their
if the
medical
minor
debt.
the minor is 17 and looks like he's 28, and he goes to a store and they open up an in-house credit line for him without the parent's knowledge.
No,
And
you're
they're
not.
selling
The
him
parent is
sporting
not.
goods and baseball cards and is
that what we're calling?
But we are headed.
malt liquor?
Yes.
We are headed as
Yes.
a society towards
Grain
obligating
alcohol.
the parent
Wait, I don't want to
for
do a
the.
society thing. Does the parent have any exposure in that scenario?
I believe no.
But if the children is being provided and goes to a medical appliance store and he's buying bandages and crutches and things like that because he's injured himself and he doesn't go with the parent, is the parent liable then?
It's an interesting
I
question.
guess my question with that is,
That's a maybe.
when the kid goes to the store, how is he providing payment? Is the store just like giving it to him on old-timey store credit?
Giving him credit, old-time store credit. I'm doing one of these law school hypotheticals.
Yes.
Well, that's
I
never
don't
going
think
to
that's-
happen.
I don't think, I'm going to go on a limb. I don't think that's any different than the sporting goods store in that context.
If the parent took them, the
Different
son there,
context.
or if the parent called the store and said, I'm sending my son, if the parent had some level of consciousness that the debt's being incurred, then clearly the parent would be
Like,
liable.
because medical treatment, it would fall under the fact that somebody has to consent to the treatment, and it's the parent that's consenting to the treatment. So the service provided under that circumstance would be the parent.
That's why I made it a point.
I know why you made it that point.
All right, so, and after the child is 18, if he incurs his debts, clearly the parent doesn't have any liability unless the parent is guaranteeing the debt. When the parent guarantees the child's car loan, is the parent liable on the car loan?
100%. You know what?
When the
I
chair-
always love the fact I get people call, well, I co-signed for my child. I say to them, well, did you sign to the left or to the right side? And they're like, well, I was on the right side or I was below. I go, you know what?
You're cruel.
That still doesn't make a darn bit of difference. When you sign the obligation to co-obligate yourself on your
You're obligated.
child's car loan or your child's student loan, you are stuck with the obligation. It is your 100% responsibility, just as their 100% responsibility.
So student loans. Are student loans always guaranteed by the parent?
No.
No.
Nope.
Okay. What if the student loan is issued to the child when they're 17?
That's an interesting question. Did
Well,
the
so-
student have the capacity to enter into the agreement?
The kid's a genius. So he graduates early, high school. Doogie Howser. Remember Doogie Howser?
I do.
Doogie Howser.
Neil
MD?
Patrick
Probably
Harris.
Is that one of
before
your
you.
classmates?
No, Doogie Howser was a TV
No, that was
show.
the store clerk when
So
Ken
he
would
was
go
like-
to the corner
was
store
it-
to
he
buy
was
someone
14,
cigarettes on credit.
And he
Yeah.
was a doctor?
Yeah.
And where he went to med school? So in that situation, he got student loans. Was his parents liable on the debt?
I highly doubt it. They didn't sign the note.
My understanding too is that student loans are treated different because so many people go into a university setting at 17, that my limited understanding is that for student loans, it seems like the age of majority is 17. And so I don't think parents would be liable unless they took out the loans with their parent. But if you're, an estranged child.
Here's the answer to your question. If the child goes in and incurs the debt before they lack legal capacity,
While they lack legal capacity.
neither the child is liable nor the parent. What happens, though, is after the child reaches the age of majority, if the child does not disavow the debt, he's deemed to have ratified it, and then the child becomes liable. So the child who takes out the loan at 17, as long as the parents don't sign anything, parents have no liability, and the child wouldn't be liable while he's up until he's 18 if he walked away from it. But when he continues to accept the benefits, he's deemed to have ratified the debt, and then he becomes
Interesting
liable.
question, though, because it's been a while since I've had to go through this, but now for the child, the student, to get the student loan from any source, they have to do the FAFSA form, which is the parent's income, and put the parent's income and tax at issue, and that is the criteria on which
And the parents
child qualifies.
and then the parents
the
are
parents
signing.
have to sign that FAFSA
And
form.
they're also, and that form is obligating them.
Right.
No, I don't think the FAFSA obligates the parent
You'd have
to
to
the
read the
student
form.
loan.
Right, but the point is they don't get the loan without looking at the parent's resources. So I think in that universe, it's an interesting question if the minor child would, or the
Walk away
parent would
from
be
the debt.
liable. Yeah,
But let's say,
because they don't get it without the parent's asset and income status.
For 1 second, let's take it back to the Doogie Howser example, because that's a 14-year-old. To have legal capacity, so long as you're under the age of majority, you really
You have no
you
capacity.
can't.
Right.
And so he could kind of pull the best bait and switch of all time, so long as he graduates before his 18th birthday,
And then walk.
and then disavow the debt.
Probably so.
Okay, for the one
Doogie
millionth
Howser,
percent.
it was a
of the
TV
one
show. I
person.
don't think they covered that.
Listen,
I'm sure that
I'm
they
just
did
saying.
not cover that.
We'll shoot a subsequent Doogie Howser show, and we'll cover that issue.
That'll be the
Doogie
reunion.
Howser's in court. He's now this successful doctor at age 21, and they're suing him on the $250,000 student loan. We'll see what happens.
I'd
after
watch
the break.
that.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Time for announcements. I want to announce THAV GROSS has opened a new office downriver in the Horizon building on Eureka Road. So now we're in Flint, downriver, and also our home office in Bingham Farms. Remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. You can do it by Zoom conference, in the office, any way that works best for you. Just call 888-235-HELP or go to the website, thavgross.com, to sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business law issues, elder law issues with Pat or Kelsey, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner. Again, sign up at lawandreality.com or thavgross.com or just call 888-235-HELP. Also, if you go to the website, you'll see there's free reports. Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by Jeff Linden and myself. Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian Small. How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure. Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. And The Retiree's Guide to Social Security by Pat Simasko. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Simasko Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
The doctors ask if Dad's affairs are in order. Did Dad ever talk to you about what we should do in a situation like this?
Not a word.
What should we do?
We should have called Simasko.
Don't wait. All it takes is a quick call to Simasko Law or go online and fill out a request. We can get your needs and wishes set in stone so your family doesn't have to play a guessing game when the chips are down. Protect what matters. For power of attorney, call Simasko Law today.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, so now, what about, is the child liable for the parent's debt?
No.
General rule?
Never.
Generally, no.
No. Well, when would they be?
When they
They
co-sign
guarantee.
it.
So I have a near and dear set of two examples of which you both will remember very well. My father, at I think age 89 or 90, was driving a Ford Escort, and he had car trouble and drove it into the dealership. While that was going on, we were driving back from a debt seminar
In Lansing.
Flint.
No, it was in Lansing.
It was in Lansing.
Yep.
During the financial crisis,
Yep.
or towards the end of it. And he calls up, and I have him on the speakerphone, and he says, I'm at the Ford dealer, the transmission on the car went, I'm buying a new car. I said, Dad, that might be a problem. Why is that? I said, because you haven't made a credit card payment in the last year. He says, what are you talking about? I said, remember I told you I would take care of your credit card debt? He said, yeah. I said, well, we haven't paid a penny. So your credit score is not going to be very good. He says, they'll sell me a car anyway. Hangs up. We're driving. I called David Einstander, who was a partner in the firm at the time, and said, you got to drive over and pick my dad up because he's at the car dealer close to the office, and he thinks they're going to sell him a car, and he's not. He's going to need a ride home. 10 minutes later, remember, the phone rings.
I do remember.
It's the salesman. He says, we introduce each other. He says to me, any chance you'd be willing to guarantee the loan for your father?
The laughter in the car was
Hysterics.
absolutely hysterical.
Answer was, are you out of your mind? I'm not going to guarantee the loan for my father. And the guy says, I didn't think you would, but I thought I'd ask. Let me keep working on it. End of story. 10 minutes later, calls back. I got your dad approved through Ford Credit. He's driving out the dealership now with a new used Ford Escort. Probably sold to him at twice the value of the car with an interest rate at God knows who, whatever. But he got his car and he did not guarantee it. A year later goes by. My dad's out in Albion or somewhere. Where he almost drove the car into the water, and the police call in February in the middle of the night saying, "We've got your dad at the police station."
Algonac.
Algonac, thank you.
Why I remember this and he doesn't, I don't know.
I drive all the way out there with my wife to pick him up. Pouring rain, freezing rain. He's there at the police station, and he's in the police station. And a little tiny police station with a little window like you used to have in the dentist's office where you're checking in. And I go in and I see my dad, and I said to him, "Dad, you okay?" And he says, "These people have ruined my evening." So I talked to the cop, who was the nicest guy. And he says, your dad was about to drive in the water. And he says, and he kept ignoring the lights, and he finally pulled over. I said, thank God for you guys. So I said to him, listen, is it all right if my dad's car stays in the parking lot for a while? Because Ford Credit will be coming to pick it up, but it'll take me a while to arrange it, because he ain't driving anymore. And the guy says, no problem. So I call Ford Credit, tell them to pick up the car. Ford Credit says to me, you're current on the payments. I said, I know, I make the payments. I guarantee you we're not going to be current next month. There will be no more payments. Kelsey can't say the story. 3 weeks go by. They haven't come for the car. The police station's calling me every day, please pick up the car. I call back Ford Credit. I get the same woman. I call this big, massive company. Same woman answers, oh, Mr. Gross, I talked to you 3 weeks ago. I said, you're right. I said, they haven't done anything. She says, let me look. Oh, he says, it's a problem because you're still current. I said, you got to help me. She says, I'll take care of it. She takes care of it. The next day, Ford Credit comes and picks up the car. 3 months later, collection agent calls. Are you willing to settle on the car? There's a balance owing after we sold it of $3,800. Would you offer us anything? No, nothing. You can sue my father if you want. Well, how about $100? I said to him, have you ever seen The Godfather? And he says, what do you mean? I said, my offer is nothing. Pause. He says, yeah, I have seen that movie. Are you kidding me? I said, no, I'm not going to pay a dime. He says, okay. Calls back a month later, same exact conversation. Nothing. End of the story. They never sued him. And I guaranteed that loan, I'd have been writing a check for the balance.
Yep.
And I would have been writing a check for the full balance because I wouldn't have let the loan go into default because I wouldn't have wanted to harm my credit. So that's the answer there on the parents' debt. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to the business debts until the next show that's covering this topic. Have a terrific, wonderful week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality. Thanks for tuning in.